It's a Friday Night Live edition of Locked On Warriors. Kylan Mills was supposed to join me, but she couldn't make it. So it's me solo. And I don't know if I'm going to get an audience tonight. Friday nights is a time and a day that is least conducive for getting the message out there. If you ever see a politician or an organization sharing bad news, it always falls on a Friday night because no one's tuning in. But I'm here, folks, and I'm going to cover two things on tonight's episode. One is I'm going to acknowledge the greatness that is Stephen Curry. It's been a little while since we've mentioned his name on this program. The man's a legend. He's one of the greatest ever. If the Warriors win a fifth world title, he will be on the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats. That's incredible. So I'm going to acknowledge Stephen Curry's greatness tonight because he was acknowledged for his greatness. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But I'm also going to talk about a very, very, what's the right word to describe this? Disappointing, negative, depressing. There's nothing good about this Anthony Lamb situation. But I do want to reveal to everyone watching, and no cap, what's up, my man? How you doing? It's just you and me for now. I want to inform people what exactly happened, at least according to the lawsuit. I took some time today, studied this thing, wrote a lot of notes, and I'm going to tell a story. Chewy, how you doing, my man or girl? I'm guessing Chewy's a masculine name. I don't know for sure, actually. But good to see you, Chewy. And to everyone else who jumps in. If you have any questions, throw them out there. I'm sorry. I'll address it happily. Again, it's Friday Night Live. No cap. I'm glad you're doing okay. But those will be the two subjects for tonight. Stephen Curry, the positive, and then Anthony Lamb, possibly the negative. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. You can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. That's my handle. Before we begin, I want to give a quick plug to Paul McCaffrey of the KNBR Morning Show, Tony Ryan, Shannon Kohler of the Stone Foxes. They had me on their podcast yesterday that's now available. And I think it's going to air this weekend on KNBR. The only time for certain that I know of is Saturday at 10 a.m. If you're driving around in the San Francisco Bay Area, turn your dial, your knob, however you whatever nomenclature is appropriate for radio these days. It's 104.5 FM. I had a blast with them, so definitely tune into that. Stephen Curry. Let's start off with him real quick. And right up way, we got trade suggestions. Jose Guzman comes in with Bol. Oh, I never laughed off Bol, Jose. What are you talking about, man? You're accusing me of laughing off Bol? I didn't laugh it off. I actually think Bol has had a pretty good year this year. He could actually turn into something. Just tell me who you're trading for him. I don't know if you want to give up Wiseman. And hello, everyone. Yeah, Christian, good to see you. It is going to be story time in just a minute. But first, I want to give some love to Stephen Curry. And yes, Big Game Fishing, you're asking, is Stephen Curry going to play tomorrow? As of right now, all indications are yes. The only scratch for tomorrow that we know of so far is Andrew Wiggins, who is out for an undetermined amount of time. And I don't expect Andre Iguodala to play. In fact, I'll tell you something about Andre Iguodala real quick. All signs are pointing to a January return for him. Don't quote me on that. I've been talking to a lot of people lately, trying to understand just what the heck is going on. And here's what I can tell you: he is going to play. They want him to play. They expect him to play, but they also want him fresh and ready for the postseason. So the plan right now is to get him going as late as possible, but give him enough time to also ramp up because there's no conditioning like in-game conditioning. So Andre Iguodala hopefully will start making his appearance in the lineup next month. And I agree with you, big game fishing. In fact, I'll turn on the chat overlay just so everyone's chats stream as I'm talking, and obviously keep the etiquette, professional and kosher. You know what I'm talking about. So Andrew Wiggins should be okay. It's an abductor injury. Every indication is it's minor. It'll heal. Just got to wait it out. But Stephen Curry, he will play tomorrow in that Celtics game, and there will be a Saturday Night Live episode of Locked On Warriors immediately following that game. And I'm actually doing a crossover with my good friend Larry Krueger and his band of misfits. So Ryan Smith, Dan Cochimilio, and Larry Krueger will join me here tomorrow night after the game. And then I'm going to jump on with them after 30 minutes. So it should be a fun night. Chewy, I think he will make a certain impact. But look, if you're relying on Andre Iguodala as your difference maker for winning a world championship, forget about that. Could he spell minutes for some other veterans like Draymond Green to keep him fresh for the postseason? Yes, that's an absolute value he can provide. Could he be a mentor to the young players on the court? Yes, that's a value he can absolutely provide. But just don't expect him to come in and be the savior. I still don't know if this team's a player short. We're starting to see what happens when the youngsters actually play. Jonathan Kuminga in that Utah Jazz game, in my humble opinion, had his coming out party. He was a beast, folks. I think that was the game where he learned that virtually no one can stop him. He has the ability to do what he wants on the basketball court. He is that impressive of a physical specimen. He got to the rim whenever he wanted. And Christian writes, if Iggy had anything to do with Kuminga's success, he's worth it. Yeah, I agree with that. And we're also starting to see what happens when Moses Moody plays. He actually produces. I don't understand, again, Kerr's aversion to playing the youngsters. I actually thought James Wiseman played a great game in Utah. It was only 5 minutes, but he did not look like the same player that we saw before he got sent down to Santa Cruz, and he's been playing good in Santa Cruz too. 6 solid games there. He, by the way, got sent back to Santa Cruz. He's playing there tonight. Kevin Dannon with the call. I believe that's on NBC Sports Bay Area if you want to check that out. And then I don't know if he's going to get called back up to Golden State for the Saturday game. But I could tell you this, and it's not good news. Time Lord, Robert Traylor, is that his last name? I'm suddenly drawing a brain fart on that. Regardless, he might play. This is the starting center for the Boston Celtics, who has missed the entire season so far. He has some sort of cleanup procedure on his knee. He might be available for tomorrow's NBA Finals rematch. I don't like that news, but what are you going to do? But I do want to give some love to Stephen Curry. He was awarded the 2022 Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year award. Damn impressive. Bravo. I'll address some chats in a second here. I want to just give some love to Steph real quick. That's a very prestigious award. I mean, that is given to the athlete of all athletes in all the major sports. And for Steph to win that, I think he earned it. He won it largely because of what he did last season, leading the Warriors to their 4th world title in 8 years. And I want to play this clip from Draymond Green giving his longtime teammate Stephen Curry some love at the ceremony. So let me find that clip. Here is Draymond Green talking about the greatness that is Stephen Curry.
For him to, at 34, soon to be 35 years old, still at the top of not only basketball, but at the top of sports, is such a special thing. I couldn't be more honored to play with a guy that committed to his craft, that committed to excellence, that committed to being a great person. As we know, you don't just win this award for being a good player. It's everything that goes into it. When you're speaking of eat, learn, and play, everything that he's doing in the community, such a special human being. I'm honored to have a teammate like that.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not? And thankfully for Draymond Green, Stephen Curry loves him as well. If that love ever dissipates, Draymond's probably gone. Um, and Ty Berkeley writes a little jab towards Steph that he sure didn't win the award for his FTX endorsement. Yeah, that lawsuit's going to be interesting. Tom Brady also involved in that. Rebel the Sounds writes, I'm still trying to figure out Ty Jerome. I'll touch on that in a second because I'm trying to figure that out too. But Stephen Curry this year, just to break the numbers down real quick, he's averaging 30 points a game, which would be the second highest or tied for the second highest total of his career in terms of average points per game. His assist numbers are now up to 7 a game. That would be the third highest total of his career. In 2013-14, he averaged 8.5 assists per game. That was when he was much more of a point guard. 2014-15, the second year, he averaged 7.7 assists per game. And then this year, averaging 7.0 assists per game. Again, third highest in his career so far. You don't see 34-year-olds who have, especially with the track record of Stephen Curry, you don't see their stats going up at this stage of the game. Yet that's what we're seeing with Steph. They're at least they're maintaining the standards of excellence, or they're exceeding them. He's also averaging 6.6 rebounds per game, which would be a career high if the season ended today. His previous season high was, I believe, the 2020-21 season when, wait, is that right? No. Yeah, 2021 season when he averaged 5.5 rebounds per game. This season, he's averaging 6.6. So he's averaging over a rebound more than his career season high. He's no longer the team leader in that department, by the way. Kevon Looney has taken over. Kevon is averaging 7.3 rebounds per game. But Steph is second on the team at 6.6. He's shooting 43.2% from beyond the arc. His free throw percentage, 90.6. So right now, he's on track almost for the 50-40-90 club. That is a club that Steph really loves being a member of. Right now, his overall field goal percentage is at 49.9%. He is just a 0.1 percentage off, if my grammar is correct there, from being in the 50-40-90 club, a club that he became a member of in 2015-16, his unanimous MVP season. That year, he shot 50.4% from the field, 45.4% from three, and his free throw percentage was 90.8. So when it comes to efficiency, there's no one better. There's no one better in the NBA than Stephen Curry. He's having an unbelievable season. Unfortunately, the rest of his team, I don't know if you can say the same. Some of his teammates are doing good, but not all of them. And yes, no cap. Time Lord, Robert Williams, thank you. Not Robert Trailer. I was thinking of like the old Michigan player. Yes, Robert Williams could play tomorrow for the Celtics. There is footage of him practicing. He looks good. He looks ready. I'm going to address, someone brought up Ty Jerome. I'm going to address that in just a minute. And then I'm going to talk about Anthony Lamb because I spent a lot of time researching that lawsuit. I got the facts together. Hello, JP. Good to see you. I'm literally just want to tell you what Kendall Ware is alleging, right? Like I'm just going to share with you what she claims happened and what she and her attorneys claimed happened in that whole time period in 2019 and early 2020 that leads to the situation we are in now, where she is suing the University of Vermont, but Anthony Lamb's name is all over this lawsuit, and he still might be in trouble at some point down the road. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. First, I got to give some love to LinkedIn. And folks, as a professor, I tell my students this all the time. If you want to find a job out there, you have to be on LinkedIn. It's one of the best ways to control your image for prospective employers. Recruiters are hounding LinkedIn in terms of seeking out potential candidates. If you want work, you have to be on LinkedIn. But if you're a small business owner and you want to find talent, excuse me, for your business, LinkedIn Jobs is what you got to be using. Oh, in fact, we got an overlay here I forgot to include. Where is my overlay of LinkedIn? There you are. So again, small business owners, Every new potential hire feels like a high-stakes wager. Use LinkedIn Jobs. It helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen today. After us, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat real quick. See if I miss anything that needs to be addressed. I want to share this tweet real quick because someone brought up Ty Jerome. And I'd love to get your feedback, folks who are involved, who are here with me tonight, on this tweet, which I loved. And the tweet goes forth like this. I don't know how to pronounce that name at all, but the individual who posted the original tweet wrote, "It's time to sign Travion Williams on a two-way deal. Let go of Ty Jerome. Give Pat Spencer another chance." I agree. I would much rather have Pat Spencer, who impressed in training camp, who impressed in the preseason, who is impressing in Santa Cruz, over Ty Jerome. Do not understand this whole Ty Jerome thing. I don't think he brings a single positive attribute to this Warrior squad. None. I am still baffled why the Golden State Warriors decided to let go of Damian Lee, who they could have easily brought back for the veteran minimum, and instead went with Ty Jerome. The Warriors did not have a player like Ty Jerome on their roster last season, meaning a traditional point guard, a pass-first point guard. They don't need that. I don't understand why Kerr is so fixated on him. I would rather have Pat Spencer as your two-way roster player than Ty Jerome. All right? Get rid of Ty Jerome, please. I never want to see him on a basketball court again playing for the Golden State Warriors. If the Orlando Magic wants to sign him, have fun. I almost guarantee you, I'm not going to fully guarantee it, you never know, but I'm very confident in saying this, that if the Warriors let go of Ty Jerome, no one's going to pick him up because he brings no value to your team. He is average at best. He's an average Joe. Give me some Pat Spencer. And then Anthony Lamb, who I'm going to share the details of the lawsuit with. I'd much rather have Travion Williams. He gives you more size. He can pass. He's actually not a horrible three-point shooter. He's, again, could probably play better defense. And NBA 876 writes Mac McClung, but Mac McClung is now with another team, and I think the Lakers might have his rights. But yeah, you're right. Fine, Mac McClung. I'll take Mac McClung over Ty Jerome. I don't get it. I don't get the Ty Jerome thing. I just don't get it, folks. This is easily Steve Kerr's worst year as a head coach. And I say that largely because you have incredible talent on your bench and you're opting instead to play two-way players who have no business being on a world championship roster. NBA 876, thank you for your advice, but I'll direct the show how I want to see it. If I don't like Anthony Lamb, I will criticize him. He warrants it. And here is the lawsuit. And if you're going to hear all these details and then still sit here and tell me don't hate on Anthony Lamb, that's your issue, not mine. All right? Here's the story of Anthony Lamb and what happened at the University of Vermont. In January 2019, Kendall Ware, okay, that is the alleged victim's name. She's a swimmer for the University of Vermont. She met and she started dating Anthony Lamb. Lamb was a junior at the time of the University of Vermont. He was also the biggest star athlete in the school's program, and he was also the biggest star at the school and the community and town of Burlington, Vermont. This is important to know. So Anthony Lamb and Kendall Ware dated for 6 months. So far, and again, these are just facts I'm going to tell you from the lawsuit, all right? They broke up that summer. So they dated for 6 months. Summer of 2019 rolls around, relationship ends. Sometime soon after that, Anthony Lamb hosts a party at his house. It was an off-campus men's basketball party. Kendall Ware goes to the party, and according to the lawsuit, Anthony Lamb is yelling at Kendall Ware, and he's not just yelling at her. So not only is his voice raised, but he's also yelling insults at her. And allegations like that, you can confirm really fast because there are witnesses, right? And I don't doubt that Kendall Ware is counting on this. A lot of what she's saying, there are a lot of witnesses too. So Anthony Lamb is yelling at her in the driveway in the front of the house. They go inside the house. They go into Anthony Lamb's bedroom. And this is where things got ugly. According to the lawsuit, Anthony Lamb forcefully anally penetrated Kendall Ware. What makes this worse, a lot of this is really ugly, but what makes this worse is that she, according to the lawsuit, repeatedly pleaded with him to stop. She claims that she said no over and over. According to Kendall Ware, Anthony Lamb told her to, quote, just take it, and continue to rape her. Excuse me. Anthony Lamb then forced Kendall Ware to stay in the bedroom overnight. According to Kendall Ware, she wanted to leave after the alleged rape, and he said no. Forced her to spend the night there in his room, and then he let her leave the next morning. She claims when she left, she was sore and in pain. Following the incident in the lawsuit, Kendall Ware claims she suffered from suicidal thoughts. Makes sense. And did at one point call a suicide hotline. And that's very important to note because there's evidence of that. That you can prove in a court of law. Her family and friends were reportedly supporting her after this alleged incident, and that Kendall Ware claims that she was really afraid to report Lamb because of how powerful and influential of a member of the university and community he was, right? Like, she was afraid of retribution. She was afraid that because of his status, that if she spoke up, that she would actually be attacked as a result because she was attacking, again, the school's biggest star athlete. On October 7th, 2019, Kendall Ware reported the rape to the University of Vermont's victims advocate, and her name is Judy Rickstad. Told her about the alleged rape, and after this, in the lawsuit, Kendall Ware then claims that this wasn't the only time he abused her. She also claims that during their 6-month relationship, Anthony Lamb, without her consent, had sex with her without a condom, meaning like she wanted protection, he didn't do it. And on another incident at Anthony Lamb's family house, Anthony Lamb filmed Kendall Ware and him having sex, again, without her consent. And that I imagine, unless he deleted it, if that's true, there might be video evidence there. And again, Kendall Ware claims that she did not go to the police, again, to get a rape kit because she was afraid. She was afraid that the police would take Lamb's side because of his status as this campus superstar athlete, as the most popular figure in the town of Burlington, Vermont, a small town of 44,000 people. So she trusted the university more. And so she filed her complaint initially with the University of Vermont. And again, Burlington, Vermont is a college town. And if you're familiar with college towns, you would understand that a lot of shady things happen. Okay. Like in the Bay Area, for example, if you drive 3 hours south of here, San Luis Obispo, California is a perfect example of a college town. I went to school there. I still I teach there right now. I advise a student newspaper there. And I can promise you this with my own personal anecdotal experience, that oftentimes crimes and other events, actions that are unethical, illegal, are routinely swept under the rug because there's no oversight there's a strong lack of a strong media presence. Cal Poly is sketch. If you ever do your research on like the Chris Smart case, if you're not familiar with that, happened to San Luis Obispo. That's one example of that. The point is, the moment I heard this was in Burlington, Vermont, I immediately sympathized with Kendall Ware, because in a town like this, if you're the star athlete, yes, they have tremendous influence and power, and she was afraid of that. So she went to the university, brought her complaint to them, and asked for a formal investigation. So the person she eventually approached about this, Rick Stat, reported the alleged rape to the university's Title IX office. All right. Now, that very same day, Kendall Ware also told her swim coaches about the assault, because she is a member, or was a member, of the school swim team. She's also a student athlete in addition to Anthony Lamb. Her coaches responded, and this is where it starts getting sketchy with the university. Her coach's response was that they had to serve as mandatory reporters, and that they had to report this incident to the athletic department. And this is where the university is being sued. This is one of many reasons, because it turns out there is no policy at the university that requires a mandatory report that goes to the athletic department. There is no law in Vermont that requires a rape survivor to go to your athletic department. This should not have ever been this should have never gone to the athletic department. This should have gone to the highest rungs. The crux of this lawsuit is that the athletic department tried to suppress this. And if they had not, I highly doubt Anthony Lamb right now would be part of the Warriors. I'll continue on, though. So the coaches reported this alleged rape to an individual named Krista Below. Her title was the Associate Athletic Director for External Relations and Communications. Basically, she was the quote-unquote PR director of the athletic department. So she goes to Below, tells the whole story about the rape. Below leaves the room, just leaves there alone for who knows how long. She claims she was just crying, bawling, waiting for something to happen. Below comes back and takes her to the office of Jeff Schulman, who is the director of the university's athletic department. He makes her repeat the entire story all over again. Now, I can imagine if I went through something like this, I would not want to be recounting it over and over, yet that's what they made her do. She tells the story. She leaves. As she leaves, the head coach of the men's basketball program, his name is John Becker, is sitting there just waiting, which implies that the moment she went to her coaches and told them what happened, they immediately not only either they told the athletic department and they immediately got the men's coach involved. Not necessary at all, but that's what happened. So Kendall Ware, again the accuser, was assigned a quote-unquote neutral Title IX investigator named Catherine Spence. And Catherine Spence told the alleged victim that she has basically two options here: either to pursue what's called an informal process, which would be really fast, but would not result in considerable consequences for Anthony Lamb, or to go through a formal process where the punishment would be much stricter. Like Lamb could have faced consequences of game suspensions, could have been kicked off the team, he would have had mandatory counseling, and Kendall Ware, the victim, the alleged victim, also wanted to confront Lamb. She would have had this right under this formal investigation, the formal process, and she wanted to read what's called a victim impact statement. And if you're still following along with the story, thank you. I know this is long and potentially convoluted, but she basically wanted to come face to face with Anthony Lamb and tell him what she did and how it impacted her. And her goal was for him to just learn and be aware that what he did was horribly wrong, because he's denying it, he's ignoring her. So the University of Vermont brought in an attorney named Peter Lim. He served as an impartial mediator for this process. And Lim tells Kendall Ware he's very surprised that she chose this informal process and not the formal process. She chose this informal process because that's what the University of Vermont's athletic department persuaded her to do. They basically said, look, if you do the informal process, we'll still punish him. You'll still have a face-to-face with him. You'll still get justice served, which was all Kendall Ware wanted, right? Well, it turns out, no. If you choose this informal process, which she had been steered to do, that he would not be punished. And I'll tell you in a minute what really happened in terms of the punishment. And this attorney was telling Kendall Ware, like, I'm surprised you chose this. And her response is that I chose this because the athletic department told me to do this, and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'm just trying to, get justice here. So they were basically lied about this informal process by the athletic department. They decide, we want to start this whole thing over. I want a formal process. I want Anthony Lamb to face consequences for his actions. So the athletic department basically tells Kendall Ware, well, if you choose this formal process, it could take as long as 5 months. It might drag out. And was just doing everything possible to dissuade her from doing that, right? The lawsuit, turns out, it claims that the 5-month thing was a total lie, and that the university's internal guidelines state that a formal process usually takes 60 days. So they lied to her there. And they also said that the formal process could result in Anthony Lamb being indefinitely suspended, banned from the gym, and Kendall Ware, again, is afraid of retribution. She's afraid that if Anthony Lamb is punished too severely, that she will face consequences from the community around her, because, again, the university loves him. They're making money off him. The community loves him. He was a solid basketball player for the University of Vermont. So Kendall Ware decides, all right, I'll stick with this informal process, and hopefully justice will be served. And then what really pissed off Kendall Ware is that on November 7th, 2019, the University of Vermont published an article on their website that was called, quote, "Can, Will, Must," unquote. And this article was all about Anthony Lamb. It was promoting Lamb, showered him with praise. They were basically using Anthony Lamb for marketing purposes. He was making the school a lot of money, right? And you've heard the old adage, money corrupts. So, and then the athletic department also decides that they want to put close eyes on Kendall Ware because they didn't trust that she would stick with this informal process. They were definitely afraid of her going with the formal process. And so he schedules a meeting with her. This individual Schulman. He decides, I want to meet with Kendall Ware, the accuser. He's late for the meeting, makes her wait for it. And then when they have this meeting, he tells her that what he's most worried about is not the fact that she's traumatized from rape, but that there could be potential damage to Anthony Lamb. In other words, in this meeting with the athletic director, basically he's telling the alleged victim, Kendall Ware, yeah, we're more worried about Anthony Lamb's image than we are about the damage you have suffered from all this, right? And then this is where, and I'll finish up the story here really soon, this individual named Nick Stanton, he's the head of the Title IX office at the University of Vermont. He pressures Kendall Ware to sign what's called a resolution agreement. Anthony Lamb also signed this resolution agreement. And this agreement is what allowed Lamb to just get a slap on the wrist. And the agreement's requirements, this resolution agreement, basically entailed that Anthony Lamb not contact Kendall Ware, that Anthony Lamb stays away from the gym that they both use because they're both student athletes for certain hours that their paths don't cross. He also had to complete what's called a healthy masculine identity program, whatever that means, and he had to refrain from attending a handful of sporting events, again, so that Kendall Ware didn't have to engage with him, right? Well, on January 6th, of 2020, Kendall Ware was finally able to deliver her victim impact statement. This was, again, a speech that she was allowed to give to Anthony Lamb to basically confront him And her goal was just for him to learn from this incident and realize how much he had hurt her, right? Now, when the Zoom call ended, the athletic department told Kendall Ware, and this is insane. It's wild. They told her that there would be no swim team without the basketball program. What they were trying to tell Kendall Ware is that your alleged rapist is the reason why your sport exists at the school. They also told her that she should be grateful for everything Anthony Lamb and his basketball team has done for her and the swim team. And this reportedly infuriated Kendall Ware, and I don't blame her for that. She had various subsequent meetings with other authority figures. She wanted some acknowledgement that the resolution agreement that Anthony Lamb signed was an admittance of guilt. The athletic department told Kendall Ware, nope, it does not. And then on January 15, 2020, and this was the last straw before the lawsuit, Kendall Ware learned that the university was advertising a press article with Anthony Lamb as the feature. The title of the article was Lead by Example. The ad was on TV. It was on the student portal page that all the students could access and see. And they also placed a poster of Anthony Lamb in the school gym, which reportedly still sits there today, or is pinned on the wall still today. Kendall Ware, meanwhile, since this incident, and this is all in the lawsuit, it says she's still suffering from emotional and physical distress, that she's suffering from depression, insomnia, isolation anxiety, suicidal ideation, and this is the part, I mean, this whole thing is sad, but for some reason this part really makes me sad, is that she feels that she basically lost whatever innocence that comes with her youth, and that she lost the experience that most individuals who go to college should experience, and that she's still suffering trauma from this experience. So to summarize in a nutshell, again, Anthony Lamb is accused of raping Kendall Ware by anal penetration. He's accused of having sex with Kendall Ware against her consent without a condom, and he's accused of having sex with Kendall Ware and recording it without her consent. Now, the first charge is the very serious one. I mean, they're all serious. I don't mean to diminish the other two. So that's a story. All right, it's a long story. It's complex. I think it's a huge reason why this thing was never carried and by the media in the first place. And what's going on? So now the thing is, again, she was 19 when all this was happening, and we're gonna see what happens. But that's a story with Anthony Lamb. Now, you're right. He's innocent until proven guilty. That is how our society works. But what disappoints me, wait a second, my audio was busted? Is that what people are telling me? Like, is my audio really messed up while I was talking right there? I hope so. Damn it, a lot of people are telling me that my audio was busted. Are you serious? Oh my God. I'm now hearing that people are saying my audio was screwed up. Well, that's a shame. We heard you. It was okay. There was another program using RAM to mess up the audio. Yes, the entire time. Just a little static. Okay. Well, the point is, I'll try to summarize again. I'm not going to tell that whole story again because it lasted for 15 freaking minutes. Long story short, Anthony Lamb is accused of rape by Kendall Ware, who was on the swim team. They dated for 6 months. She accuses him during their relationship, before they broke up, of having sex with her without consent, without a condom. She accuses him in another instance of having sex with her and recording it without consent. I know it is really weird that my audio crapped out right at that moment. That is, if you're a conspiracy theorist, man, look into that. And then the part that the actual, I don't want to diminish those other two things. They're all bad. But after they broke up, at a party at Anthony Lamb's house, she alleges that after he was yelling at her in front of the house, hurling insults, they go to his room. He anally penetrates her. She repeatedly says no. And that's the part that's really, I mean, this whole thing's bad, but she made it in the lawsuit. She claims that it was made very clear that she said no repeatedly, that she suffered injuries from this, and that she was also imprisoned. She was not let out of the house until the next morning. So now people are asking like why she went to the party, because she's a college kid, because the men's basketball team threw a party. I'm guessing she was invited. That shouldn't matter. Like, her going to the party shouldn't matter. The only thing in all this that should matter is that he potentially, allegedly, raped this woman. Now, and if so I'm looking at the Golden State Warriors and I'm thinking to myself, like, why? Look, regardless of whether or not he did this, is this worth it? I mean, is keeping him on the roster, and this is very important to note as well, right? Trust is earned in this world. Okay, trust is earned in this world. Anthony Lamb has been on this roster for what, 2 months? He was signed in, I think, August, maybe September. So it's not like the Warriors have a history with this guy. It's not like they've known him for years. He was cut by 2 other teams. He was just literally out there on the waiver wire with no one wanted him. And this is a player that the organization has known for 2-3 months. And I don't know. I just don't. So when it comes to trust, it's not like he's some player who has been playing for Santa Cruz, who's been with them for years, who they've gone to know. This is a very new player who, again, I don't know I don't know how you could trust him. I just don't know how you could trust him. You can make the argument, how can we trust Kendall Ware? Well, we're going to find out on these lawsuits, because it's not going to end with the university. All right. His time will come at some point as well, too. But, so that's what's going on. That's the Anthony Lamb story. I just wanted people to understand what this lawsuit is about, and what the details were. And we're going to find out a lot more, but I don't understand why the Golden State Warriors still have him on the roster. That part is a mystery to me. Now, look, it's hard for me to be the one telling this story, because I have not been a big Anthony Lamb fan from the outset, right? I see his value as a two-way player who, if you need minutes similar to Juan Toscano Anderson, okay, I get it to a certain degree there. But I've never understood giving him minutes over Kuminga, over Moses Moody, now over James Wiseman. And on top of that, these are very serious allegations of rape, folks. All right. And this is not someone who has earned our culture's trust. Wow. Okay. Well, NBA 876, I'm curious to know, why are you defending him so hard? Okay. Now, if you're going to call me names, I will block you fast, but because all I'm doing is telling you I'm a messenger here. All right. So if you're going to be mad at me for just reporting this, I'm asking you why. I'm asking you why, NBA 876. Why are you defending him so much? I think it is a shame that I am the only Warriors program reporting this. I think it's a shame that for some reason our local media is begrudgingly reporting on this. I do. And look, this is out in the public. This is a lawsuit that anyone can access. All I did was try to summarize 15 pages of law documents into a story. Keith Willis writes right now, I never heard of this until now. That's crazy. That's crazy, So that's what's going on there. We'll be back at this tomorrow. Immediately after the Warriors. Yeah, and Christian, you saw it on SF Gate, but did you see it on the San Francisco Chronicle? I mean, the SF Gate published this before the San Francisco Chronicle did. That's wild to me. And Eddie 757 writes, if someone made an accusation against you in a suit against someone else, would you be okay with being fired? I will say this. I would never put myself in a position to be accused of something this heinous. I don't know. I guess my parents taught me right. Like, I try not to touch people, period, ever. Right. Well, unless like you're in a relationship with someone, or it's just a blatantly comfortable situation. And, when and I know young people do stupid things, but even back then, I guess I just had the sense to just never put myself in a position like that. It's a tricky situation, folks, but I I can't sit here and support Anthony Lamb staying on this team. I can't. And when you read the lawsuit, there are so many details in there, and so many specifics. Kendall Ware is not the only person suing the University of Vermont, for the record. There are other plaintiffs in this. They're not all accusing Anthony Lamb, but the lawsuits all have the same theme, that athletic program is trying to shut people up so that they can continue making money off their programs. Yes, lettuce pre-sports. And Eddie767 writes, but people are wrongly accused, it happens. We can't give that kind of power to accusation alone. The Dubs investigated this themselves. For the record, the Dubs did not investigate this. The Dubs relied on the NBA's investigation of this, and we have no idea what that investigation entailed. We have absolutely no idea. As far as we know, they simply looked up what I looked up. So, and you're writing that you know Lamb in person. NBA 876. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, man, but I will say this: like there's a certain statistic that shows that when it comes to accusations like this, it's something like 95% of them. I forgot what the number is. I don't even want to say that because I don't want to be wrong on something like this. But look, we can agree to disagree on this. You're right. He's not arrested for this. He might at some point, but this is just a sketchy story. And I don't know, man. That's just my take on it. I don't see why the Warriors are investing in him. There are a lot better players out there that don't bring this kind of baggage, So that's it. Yeah, this whole season just had a really yucky vibe to it. I mean, we had the Draymond Green punch to Jordan Poole. Even before that, Gary Payne II, just losing him was a huge bummer. I mean, if you watched this show back then, you heard me there expressing my disappointment. Quindary Weatherspoon being waived, and folks, he was not waived for performance reasons. He was waived because he expressed publicly that he feels like he should be a guaranteed player. He should have a guaranteed deal. And the certain egos didn't like hearing that. And that's a huge reason he got cut. I've heard that from sources, folks. So this season has been bad, but it's early. It's only December 9th, folks. It's my friend Sam Ziaripour's birthday. I should call him right now. Folks, we'll be back at this tomorrow. All right. Andrew Wiggins will not play, but everyone else seems to be green light, go. Robert Williams looks like he will play for the Boston Celtics, which does not bode well for the Warriors. And maybe next week we will talk about some trade ideas, because I will say this. Until recently, I didn't think that James Wiseman was going to be traded, but I'm starting to hear from certain people who wouldn't bring it up unless they believed it, that Wiseman could get traded. I think it might be a possibility. So we'll maybe explore some trade options next week. I do have a really, I'm getting news here that Robert Williams is not playing. Okay, again, this is from, and again, I never heard that he was confirmed to play, but that he is practicing with the team now. But regardless, we'll have a show right after the game tomorrow night with Larry Krueger and his whole band of misfits. And yeah, and Billy Vance, I'm with you, by the way. I still think there is time and hope for James Wiseman. I like those 5 minutes I saw in Utah. I just want more. I just want more. But anyways, and for those who disagree, it's okay. All right. I'm not sitting here saying, I'm not, unequivocally like that I'm right here, my opinion is that I don't get Anthony Lamb. I don't get why he's on the roster. And if you disagree with me, that's okay. All right. I'm not judging you on that. I promise. But again, it looks like Rob Williams, from a lot of people in the comment section, saying he will not play. So, and I'll leave on this. I want to actually look real quick for all you degenerate gamblers out there. Respect, by the way, we're all part of the same club. I'm curious to know what the line is for the Warriors and Celtics tomorrow night. We'll end on this note. And again, one more time, we'll have another show tomorrow night, Saturday Night Live edition of Locked On Warriors. The line is not out yet. Damn it. So I don't know who's favored and so forth. All right, folks. Thank you. I know this was not the funnest show. We started off on a great note with Stephen Curry and praising how well he's done this year and earning the 2022 Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year award, and rightfully so. But this Anthony Lamb thing, at least the information had to get out there, and obviously, in my humble opinion, a good reporter simply reports the facts and lets people form opinions based off those. And that's what I was trying to do with that. As a player, I don't like Lamb, but as a person, I told you what happened with the lawsuit, and we'll see what happens. So that's it. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for jumping in. I know Friday night's not a really popular night for a show, but I do appreciate you all jumping in. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Peace out. Later.